This is Beach Talk Radio.
Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. This is your captain speaking, Mean Gene. Mean Gene. The following will be a test of the ship's whistle, the sonar alarm, the cable alarm, and the atomic attack alarm.
Ladies and gentlemen, broadcasting live 100 feet from the Gulf of America. Here are your award-winning social media superstars, the hosts of Beach Talk Radio, Kim and Ed Ryan.
Yeah. Very nice. Folks, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, we have one of the biggest crowds we've had here at Wahoo Willie. So thank you all for coming. It's a beautiful day on Fort Myers Beach. It's hard to remember 2 weeks ago, we were all sitting here in long pants, long johns, and winter jackets, and there were 3 people sitting out there, and 2 of them are here today. So it's a beautiful beach day. So if you're coming to Fort Myers Beach, come down as early as possible. As you can see, Kim is not here. Our daughter is a little under the weather, so she took advantage of the opportunity to spend more time with our 4-month-old grandson rather than come to the show. Okay, so that's nice for her to get more FaceTime with the baby. And also, Dan is not here. The mayor is not here. He has a work assignment in Punta Gorda. There's a big show with, I guess, big boy toys or golf carts and other things, and he went to a concert last night. Mitchell Tenpenny is playing at this golf cart event. So they're up in Punta Gorda, so he'll be back next week. And before we introduce the town manager, who's going to be our guest for the hour, I need to recognize 2 people in the audience. 96-year-old Larry and 93-year-old Dorothy have been coming to Fort Myers Beach since 1973. Can you guys wave to everybody? Yeah. 1973. They're original owners of Bay Beach building number 2 in the Riviera, and your son told us, like, you're the original owners of so many things, but still coming to Fort Myers Beach, and the beach is getting ready to celebrate 30 years of incorporation. So congratulations to those guys still coming to the beach after all these many years. 1973. All right. Now, a big round of applause for our guest for the hour, your town manager, Will McAnay. He's going to tell me I said his name wrong again.
Or McAnay. You might get it right one of these days, Ed.
You've only been here 6 months, right? And I still haven't gotten it right.
eight or 9 months. See, you're just on a roll.
Wow, has it been that long? Wow. So have you been watching the Olympics at all?
I have, yeah, as much as I can.
Yeah, I got hooked on the hockey game yesterday. You couldn't watch the hockey.
I did watch that too.
You couldn't watch the hockey game unless you had Peacock. So of course I had to order Peacock. And then they were losing in the first period, and then they came back and won. And then, I got so into the hockey thing. They're playing Germany today, I guess, at 3:00. I didn't even know Germany had a hockey team, but I guess we'll see how good they are today.
They're pretty good.
And then I got on Netflix last night, and I watched the 1980 documentary on Netflix about the Olympic hockey team. And if you have never seen that documentary, man, that was something else to
I watched
relive.
That was really, really good.
Yeah.
I mean, there have been a lot of documentaries and even movies made about that team, of course, Miracle on Ice, but that documentary, I think, is the best one so far.
Yeah, and talk about a rough leader to be on a team under. Herb Brooks, who brought the gold back after 20 years. It sounded like he was a tough guy to skate for, but he brought the gold back.
It does sound like he was all business.
Yeah.
And, but he made it work. Very successful.
Yeah, and it was in Lake Placid. We're from New York, so we've been to Lake Placid, and man, it just, when you look at the players now and you think, wow, it's so long ago. It was 45 years ago now. It's just crazy how time flies.
Yeah, and they honored a couple of the players that have passed, since then over the last couple of years at the end of the documentary. But yeah, they're still they come together regularly and go to Lake Placid as a team.
Yeah, and
have a reunion, if you will. It's really cool.
So let's start off with the big issue on Tuesday. Is in all likelihood there'll be a 5th town council member appointed, and you guys have instituted a new process for that. So tell us about what we're expected to see on Tuesday at the meeting.
Yeah, so it has happened before, of course, where a council member retires, resigns, or leaves the position, and then in the middle of a term, or before the end of a term. So then we have to, according to our charter, the remaining council members appoint a new council member to that position until the end of that term. What we decided to do this year is institute a little bit more rigor and a little bit more transparency for the public in that process. So each one of the candidates are going to come almost like they did for me when I came in, almost be interviewed by the council. Each counselor will ask a couple of questions after an opening statement by the candidate, and then the other two are going to be up in a sequestered location in another part of our building while they go through that process. And then after the council goes through that process and are satisfied they've asked all the questions they want to ask, they'll bring those candidates back down and vote. So we've been going over that with the four counselors, so they're ready for that process on Tuesday. And also I met with all three of the candidates, so to make sure that they understand the process, and we're ready.
And I think there's, at least from my standpoint, there's a little confusion, and I could have caused my own confusion. When Scott Safford was originally appointed, John King was reminding me that it was 2-1-1, and they couldn't really get to 3, and eventually they got to 3. I originally had thought you needed to get to 3, and then I thought I heard the town manager say 2 is enough. So, yeah, I'm sorry, the town attorney. I thought I heard that. So, I think you're going to get some clarification on how many votes are needed.
I will. I'll talk to Nancy before Tuesday or Tuesday morning at the latest, and get some clarification and make sure that we, announce the proper procedure when it comes to voting before we actually start that process.
So you said you met with the 3 candidates. Who's your favorite?
Well, I'm not going to answer that, Ed, of course. As a town manager, I work for the council. So whoever it is, that's my boss, all of them together. I think that they have a tough decision on their hands coming Tuesday, because 3 excellent candidates, and all with very varying but great qualifications. And I'm impressed with each one of them. So I think that it's going to be a tough decision. And I look forward to the outcome, because for me and for the staff, having that seat filled is very important.
Right.
We've got a lot of things that we want to move forward, get council approval on, and just keep the momentum going.
Yeah, and I was just joking around about that, but they are 3 great candidates,
Yeah.
and you can't go wrong with any of them. And I think for people, there is a certain group of people that want Tom Brady to be appointed, and they've been putting, and you don't need to respond to this, they've been have an email campaign with the rest of the council members. But you know what? The recall is over. That's past the history. Jim Adderholt was not recalled. These are 2 different things. And, I don't know that the pressure campaign is going to mean anything when the vote is said and done. And they'll look at whatever the questions are on Tuesday. Are those questions that the staff has come up with, or the council members will ask on their own? Because I know they're all going to get the same questions. So they can't talk to each other now. So how would that whole thing work out?
We gave recommended questions, similar to the questions that our HR director gave to the council before they interviewed the town manager candidates. So we gave them recommendations, and some of them have chosen some of those recommendations, and some wanted to ask questions in specific areas. For example, like Scott Safford is our council advisor to the audit committee, so he likes to ask the budget related questions, and et cetera, through some of the other issues. So I'm sure that they're going to tailor their questions to that. And to Lisa, our HR director, she's made sure that with each of the counselors, either in person or by communicating with them virtually, that they don't ask the same questions. That's all. They ask the same questions of each candidate,
right.
But they're not asking the same questions as other counselors are.
And lastly on that, whoever's voted in, if somebody's voted in, and if you can't come to whatever the number is, 2 or 3, I think if it's 2, you can come to 2. But if you have to go to 3 and there's an issue, they could just decide to wait until the election, because 3 seat. My understanding is if you can't come to a decision, you can decide not to.
They can,
huh?
Yeah.
Oh, so you have
to
come to a decision. Gotcha.
I would like them to come to a decision. Strongly recommendation with, even if on Tuesday they go through multiple rounds of voting and still haven't come up with a selection. the mayor, with the consent of the rest of the council, could decide to table it until another
I
meeting
see.
and go through it again at another meeting. But my preference, my strong recommendation with them is to stay at it until they make a selection.
Yeah.
Because to Councilor King's point, although we can approve a budget with 4, we would need the super majority to approve the budget. And as we know, it's a difficult process sometimes with budget, especially if there's contention or difficult decisions to be made, like millage rates or anything like that.
Right.
The number of votes that you need for those things varies significantly.
Okay. So, and by the way, lastly on that, whoever does get appointed, if somebody does get appointed, they take the oath right away and they sit in the chair and complete the meeting.
Correct. And I've met with each of the candidates this past week and prepared them on the agenda. So whichever one is selected, we'll be ready to go.
And if either one of Jim or John gets appointed to the town council, then you'll have an opening on the LPA that somebody will need to be appointed to.
That's correct. We'll go through the normal process to appoint somebody to that.
So on to the other topics. There's been a lot of videos posted to Facebook about the helicopter. And it doesn't look like whoever's helicopter that is 1,000 feet. Did you guys come up with like an agreement with whoever and I shouldn't say it's the helicopter guys that were trying to pitch the business, because it's hard to tell whose helicopter it is, but it doesn't look like it's 1,000 feet off. And is there something being done about that, or
there's only one helicopter company that
Okay.
I've had any conversations with. That's Fly Heli. Steve is the owner. Steve assured me that he's flying well within FAA regulations and guidelines. So FAA is the one that regulates
Okay.
airspace. So if he's too low, flying over an area he's not supposed to fly over, or anything other than that FAA would regulate, that's for FAA to enforce. We've had the discussions. He's assured me that he flies well within those regulations. If we receive to the town a complaint from a resident or someone else, I will pass that on
to him or to the FAA?
To Steve and the appropriate authorities. My staff has contacts also with all the regulation bodies, whether it be county, state, or federal, to make sure that we are also passing along those complaints to be looked into.
Did you get any complaints about the helicopters lately?
Not lately. I
Okay.
haven't actually. No, not to the town. And I may have just opened up the door, but that's okay, because again, we're not unused to that, and we want to hear concerns from the public. So I think most of the time before, because it's been a while since I've had anything come to me or anything, and I think Steve, I'm not to be an advocate for him or his company, but I do think he's made an effort to be very transparent and respond to those complaints. From what I've seen and from what I've heard from people who have reached out to me about their interactions with Steve, it's been positive.
All right. Well, we got some action going on right behind us at Harbor House. So I guess if somebody posts a video, you explained it enough. I asked Dan the mayor about this last week. It looks like you guys have done some nice work on the sidewalks here. You filled in some of the patches and you got some AstroTurf out there. What's the latest on the bike racks?
So the bike racks, we had to remove the bike racks here to do some of that work right here in front of Wahoo Willie's to do some of that work. My community, Jeff Haugie's department has got some more on order. They're going to be some of the nice wave-like looking colored bike racks to go back in here but yes, I appreciate the comments. They've done a lot of great work down here. A couple of weeks ago with redoing the turf and stuff at Bayside Veterans Park to level it out after the accident from last year. And also just to make it much more better for the events down at Bayside Veterans Park, but also they've been filling in the, where we had some of the mulch or some of the other stuff with concrete, with turf,
Looks
much
better.
more resilient, looks much better. Thank you. I appreciate that. And that work's going to be continuing all the way up to Times Square for the next few months.
Yeah. And just a little history for anybody that doesn't know, the accident was a lady probably had a little too much to drink, and she made a right-hand turn in front of Nervous Nellie's and was driving around in Bayside Park. Luckily, nobody got hurt, but that was, of course, like everything else, that was a video that was just, it was, you had to take a double take at it it's like, is she really driving in Bayside Park? And
she made an impressive 3-point turn for as inebriated as she was.
I shouldn't laugh about that, but luckily nobody got hurt.
Yeah.
So you were, I guess you were talking about up to Times Square. Is there any update first on the traffic light?
So no, not since we last talked, Ed.
Okay.
So the county is putting the project out for bid. Was the last that I was told by county. So they should, they'll go through that process for the repairs. But at the same time, there's work that has to be done with the infrastructure, the wiring and underneath the ground from Times Square that links into the closest junction box. A lot of that still needs to be cleaned out and redone from storm debris that got into those lines. So it's more than just the light. They got to do that. And then the light, whatever they get, is going to have to be synchronized with the pedestrian lights and so forth. But I'm confident, a little more confident than when I first got here, that project is going to get some momentum and gain ground. Not this season, but hopefully by next season we'll have a light up with also pedestrian crosswalk lights that are properly synchronized.
So are there people over there at the busy times helping out?
Yeah, so we have a combination of our town rangers and Lee County Sheriff Office auxiliaries that volunteers that come in. You see them with the white shirts and the yellow vest. We have a combination of those two groups that'll come and do traffic control at the busy times.
All right. Now, moving right along, is there any plan to make Times Square look nicer?
Definitely. Yeah.
It's
definitely
pretty ugly right now.
We definitely are efforting everything we can do to move towards that in synchronization with the property owners and businesses that have come through, gotten plans, and want to start working in there. We want to synchronize some of that. And I was just talking with Jeff this week about some of the stuff we've been doing here. We want to start moving up to Times Square pretty soon, start replacing the shells, making those look, a little bit nicer, starting replacing some of the landscaping, cleaning it up, making it look nicer. The lights, replacing some of the lights with more modern but still traditional light, looking lights around here that'll blend in well with the lights on Old San Carlos and go around Times Square, and also be energy efficient for us. And then we do have a plan. We just need to figure out the funding for it, and it could be some of the CBDGDR funding. It could be some other funding source, but we want to replace the tiles in Times Square with stamped concrete, just much more resilient, much more, it would withstand, the floods and stuff a lot better than the tiles. And we can do it like you've seen in other parts of Florida, where they just put down a very strong concrete, they stamp it, they can stamp it with designs, different colors, and so forth like that. So we want to make it look very good for Fort Myers Beach.
So back in the day before Ian, when there was a plan to redo Times Square, the infrastructure is an issue.
It is.
If you take the tiles out and you put the concrete down, will that include redoing the infrastructure underneath?
So we've already got DR money and other grant money to work on the stormwater and other infrastructure from Times Square all the way down to connect into the other stormwater tie-ins down here on Crescent and Fifth. So that's going to be a project coming up soon as well.
Any idea when we might see some work in?
I think we'll see some of that work starting probably after season, probably this summer.
Okay.
Hopefully completion before the beginning of next year.
Can you explain how Terry was allowed to get a food truck on that piece of property?
I can.
Okay.
So, Terry Prasad owns a couple of properties along that way, and his previous property did have businesses like that. It had food, it had retail, it had a bar, and so forth like that. So, what was discussed with Terry, with my staff, and with others, in the decision process was Terry wants to start, building on the 1028 Estero.
Next to the parking lot.
We're next to his parking lot. And in order to do that, he needed to have plans. He wanted to bring some trailers to the 1000 Estero right next to the pier, which he has one now there approved. And he brought in another one. He's working on approval on that one.
Is it a food truck too, or something?
That it's going to be, the food truck and then the bar trailer, kind of like
trailer.
what Buffalo Grill has across the way. So he came in, he applied for his permit. It took a little while because he hadn't yet gotten approval for his development of the property, because what I told him is I've got to see momentum towards development. First of all, you got to meet all the standards for trailers, just like everybody else. It had to have been a business that you had before on that property, and I gave him a little bit of a carryover because he did have it. He had it on the other property, but he's going to be building on that property. And then once he completes building on that property, he's going to build on the property where the trailers are now. I understand there's reservations. He doesn't always deliver on his promises, but we're going to hold him accountable. I am anyway. And he has gone through the permitting process for those trailers, just like anybody else. And there are others where I've done a similar thing. Chris Primo and others, with Detroit Dogs and everything, we've offered them similar exceptions to bring a business that they've had in a different location before to another piece of property that they own, that as long as they're developing on the property where that business was, and then once the development is done, the business will go back to that development. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Terry does have plans to build on the piece of property next to the parking lot. We've seen the plans.
Yes, he does.
And so that's how
and his DO. We went through the DO,
Mhm.
and it's good to go. He's going to be able to start. We finally. It took some back and forth. It took a while for us to review the plans because we wanted to see everything as a package, as one whole package. Once my staff got that one whole package, then they were really able to go through it and break it all down and say, yes, this is good, this is compliant. Okay, we need you to change this, so forth. That's all complete now, and we're good, and he's ready to start on that project.
So it totally makes sense if Terry's got plans. We've all seen the plans of the building that he has for that piece of property, why he could put a trailer over on the other piece of property. The question I have for you is, no offense to Fred. I like Fred. We're totally fine with Fred, but they don't have plans.
He has permits.
At Buffalo Grill, there's no plans to build. So how is that
doesn't
different?
have plans.
Yeah.
Well, so pretty soon, and thanks for asking the question, because I've been talking about this with staff. I talked about it with the mayor, and pretty soon we're going to be sending out letters again to those that we granted the ETPPs to, because the earliest ones that I granted are probably about 3 months ago now. So they've got about 3 more months on that permit. So we're going to send out notification letters that in order to renew, they're going to have to show us. Now, they made assurances. Some of them made assurances that they're going to have plans. They're going to build. They're just right now, they're working with engineers, working with architects, working with financing. So the next step, I'm going to want to see some tangible evidence that that's actually coming to fruition.
So we're talking about the Buffalo Grill.
We're talking about others.
And we want them to get through season and make as much money. That's certainly not.
And it's not just one. They're pretty much all going to be in this situation. And same goes, 6 months from now with Terry or with anybody else, if they're not progressing, in that development, which I think that he will, and I'm really hoping that others do as well. Then we're gonna have a difficult conversation.
Yeah.
Be like, if you're not moving forward with development on that site, which is the goal, that's the direction that council gave me, is we're willing to work this special exception, but we want to see progress. We want to see building and development.
So for just to be clear, you're not issuing any more temporary use permits, right? You're extending ones, or
we're extending ones that existed prior. That's correct.
Okay. And so the reason we don't bring up La Ola is because it's in a court case. There's a court fight going on with that. Otherwise, the whole thing would be kind of in the same boat. It's a court thing going on with that.
But we continue to have discussions with Tom and others on that, not about the what's in litigation, but on other things. Like, for example, they've come to us with a proposal to do their own wave mitigation wall on part of their property, which would change a little bit of what they can build and develop on their property, which I think is great. We'd love to have that conversation. And some of the other businesses down a little bit further are also working with engineers and working with the town on projects like that might change their plans, and the way they want to develop, which we're okay with.
Yeah, and by the way, Tom does have plans in the works too. We've seen plans for the new La Ola. So just as we kind of move down the Estero Boulevard a little bit, have you seen the Beacon parking lot?
I believe, yeah.
Yeah, with the one with the little pool in the back there.
I know the one you're talking about.
And then I guess when I look at John Richard's parking lot here and what he committed to and how the LPA kind of, they knew John was going to do it. So they kind of, it looks like a mini park over here. It's so nice. And then that guy at the Beacon got away with that, where it's just shells and dirt. Why wasn't he held to the same standard?
Well, he will be.
Okay.
So, I've been talking with staff, with the code staff, to go down there and start, documenting, things. Let's hold everybody to the same standard when it comes to, if it's an unsafe structure, if it's got other things that we don't, that according to our ordinances and codes are non-compliant, we will enforce those and hold them to the standard. Because, like you, not only do I want to see things look as nice as
Yeah.
what others have been, but I also need to make sure that they're safe and compliant.
I mean, if that parking lot looked as nice as John's parking lot in that spot right there, it'd be so great for the island. I mean, it's just such a dump now. It's in the prime location that everybody drives by. It would be nice if that guy put a little bit of money into making that parking lot look nice. It's only a parking lot. It's not like he's building a building, right?
I don't disagree.
Okay. So as we move down the street a little bit to our good friend Carmen Nacarado, who is still operating an illegal parking lot, do you happen to have any idea what that fine is up to as of today?
Over $350,000.
He's getting fined $500 a day, I think.
That's right. Yep.
And he paid, I think he paid $280 last time, right? I mean, he paid an ungodly amount of money.
He set last time we were in the town was in a similar situation. He ended up settling and paying about 2/3 of a similar amount that he owed at that time. So right now, I want to find a solution. I want to move forward there on that property. I know it's been a difficult one for the town for some time. If you remember, council directed me to try and restart kind of conversations with Mr. Nacarado and with his attorneys. I've had a conversation with his attorney, as our attorney has as well. And really, what I'm hoping for is not just the same as before.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that what we're recommending is that he comes forward and requests a special exception, which he did before, but he ended up trying to litigate that he had prior grandfathered use of that property for that thing. He lost that case. Him and his attorneys lost that case, so that's a settled issue in our mind. And but he can come in, but just like anybody in town can come in and ask for a special exception to change the use of their property. If he wants to come in and have that discussion, our priority is going to be to reopen retail in that shopping center, and then parking can be part of that conversation. But we just I think we've got to break this loggerhead, and in my opinion, because it's holding up some commercial businesses in there.
The challenge for the town is that guy owns that lot and he owns the Seagrape Plaza.
Yeah.
And he basically, other than Santini Plaza, he has a vice grip on all your retail.
I agree. I'd really like to see a good faith effort on his part to open up more opportunities for businesses in his centers. I understand he's the property owner. He runs it. It's his right to
do nothing,
to do nothing, or to do or to set prices as he wants to set them. But there's other things that we're willing to have conversations with him about, like how much commercial parking he could possibly do on his properties, or other things like that within our ordinances and our statutes that allow me to do. I'm willing to have those conversations. I'd like to see some progress.
And the thing too is the building looks nice, the landscaping looks nice, and he's
done some great landscaping recently. He fixed up the outside of the building, looks real nice, and same with Seagrape Plaza. It looks nice, and we'd like to see. I hear that there's some progress with Mr. Tequila's, and I hear that there's some progress with the Jimmy John's in that coming into that Kia Stero. That's great news. Nobody's come in to pull any permits yet for that, but we want them to.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to be a Mr. Tequila. I think it's going to be the same style restaurant, but not with that brand. At least
That's
what the people that are planning to go in there. Well, that's disappointing to hear neither one of them pulled permits. So.
Not yet. They're trying to, but again, once they come in to do that, we want to help them.
So you come over the bridge and you make a left-hand turn. Crescent Park is going to look spectacular when they're done with that. Margaritaville looks great. The pool's right there. The whale is open, and then you got to look at the surf club.
Look at what?
The surf club.
Oh yeah. Okay.
What the hell's going on with that building?
I don't know. I've asked the staff to reach out to them, and they have. I think what I heard from my community development director is they have had some discussions in recent weeks with them to work on that property and some others like it. But I don't know. I think it's not anything I know you were going to ask me about other, when we switch to major development discussions, and I'll say it's in a similar thing. The town's not holding anything up.
Right.
We want to help people, with their permit, with their planning, and then their permitting in the best way that we can, so that they can make their projects work.
So that building's not red taggable. It's not in a condition where it needs to be knocked down. According
No,
to
no, it's not. What they're planning on doing, from what the building official and everybody has told me, is doable, and it's not in that category
it's good
right
to
now.
hear they even have a plan. I mean, if they have some kind of plan, that's news to most people that are watching.
Well, yeah, I don't know what how. Sometimes we've heard people say they have plans and they're on a napkin, but I don't know if that's their case. But they have been talking with the building official and with our planning, our community development team.
Yeah, even before the storm, I think that place only opened up one day out of the year to keep their liquor license active or something. I mean, they weren't a regular participant in the beach. But okay, so let's talk about the beach school.
Yeah, please.
I know you went to the last school board meeting, and I mean, to me, the writing's on the wall that they're not going to do anything. I mean, first of all, where is your latest request for funding? You came from, I think, you'll correct me, you came down from 12 to 9, or was it?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
So where are we on that?
Last month, I sent a counter proposal back to the district that revising our ask to that we would like the property, the entire property that the school is on, and all remaining facilities on it, transferred to the town, to town ownership. And we came down from $12 million ask from the meeting that the mayor, the recommendation the mayor made, to $9 million, which we feel is fair, because two reasons that I wrote in that letter was at the last budget school district budget briefing that I saw and I looked at, is they still have $6 million funded for a cafeteria. They had it allocated in the budget. Whether or not the district, the board is going to, follow through on that, I don't know. But in my opinion, they had already committed that money. And then, I feel that an additional $3 million is a fraction of the money that they received for disaster relief, specifically for Fort Myers Beach Elementary School. So, I would like to ask for more. But we all know, negotiations are a back and forth. They're a process. Nobody's going to get everything they want. I think that it's more than a fair ask for us to ask for that. And most especially, we feel that the superintendent made the commitment that they're not going to demolish the school. Even though their report, the Castaldi report, did recommend demolition for a variety of reasons. She committed to me and to the mayor during that meeting a couple of months ago that they weren't going to move forward with that. So with that being said, and if the school district does not want to continue funding the Fort Myers Beach Elementary School or the property, we do. The town does want it, not only for a school, but that's the historic nature of that building. It means a lot to this community, and we'd like to see that, even if we can't maintain the historic building. So we want to build another school on that property. So
in order for there to be a negotiation, there really has to be two sides. It just seems like there's one side. Are they at least getting back to you saying, okay, we'll consider $9 million, we'll consider giving you the $6 million? Where is the other side?
So the discussions have continued. Staff discussions have continued since that letter, really with me and with Ken Savage, the deputy superintendent. As we've had meetings to discuss some of the details of this request, and he's been gracious enough to continue to offer us access to the facility. I've gone through with some engineers and some architects to see exactly what the cost of a rebuild would be if we even wanted to go down that path. And that's all going to be information that I'll present to council, along with any recommended agreement between the district. But I think from a staff perspective, it's been good. We've had good discussions, hard discussions. We don't agree on everything. The one part that I've asked several times for any kind of confirmation on is the money, is the funding, and I haven't received anything solid back from the district in an answer to our request to that.
When do you think you'll be able to tell the Fort Myers Beach community what's going to happen with that property and that school? And know it, this is exactly what's going to happen.
I think it's coming. It's coming to a decision by the school district here pretty soon. From the sense that I got from the board workshop that I went to, and some comments made by some of the board members in the last couple of school board meetings, I feel that they're ready to make a decision on this. They're waiting for staff recommendation. Part of that was the Castaldi report. Part of that was what the negotiations, what details come out of the negotiations between the two of us. I feel that they're, based on what Dr. Savage is telling me, he feels pretty good about them making a decision here in the coming, couple of months. I'm hoping that happens, and then within the next few months, I will have a recommendation to council.
One of the things Sam Fisher said during that meeting was, I want this school. He doesn't want to commit any money to the school. He wants the school off the books. At least he said something. Nobody else said anything after that. They all kept quiet, including Ribble, who I don't even know where he stands. He's your representative from this district for the beach. I don't even know where. I couldn't tell where his position is. So at least Sam Fisher said something. Do you think that's the general consensus of the rest of the members? They want to be done with the beach school?
I feel that I feel that maybe more than just Mr. Fisher have a similar inclination to just be done with it, get it off of their books. But I'm hoping that they listen to the plea, listen to us, and listen to our desires here on the beach, the town, the residents, the parents here on the beach, that we want it. We want the school. If they don't want it, if they don't want to run it as a school in the district, we are committed to doing that ourselves, and that we will still need their support in doing that. So when they say it like it off the books, I understand from his perspective of a financial perspective maybe, but we still want to be partners with them moving forward. They want to absolutely give us the property, give us the building, let us make the decisions for that, so that we can, because I'm confident we can find a way to make it work.
So there's a possibility that they could say, you're not getting a penny. We're going to convert the historic building into a community center. Then what do you do?
Well, anything they want to do structurally, or if they wanted to do anything on that property, I think the town still, I know the town still has a vote, a part of that process. Our town council, our LPA, anything they would want to do to change the current out kind of what the building is, the use of it. It's they if they even wanted to talk about different zoning or different use, they would have to bring that through us, through I say us, through the staff, through the LPA, through the council. So it's not the end of it. If they decide they want to do something like that, again, it wouldn't be the end of things.
In your crystal ball, when will there be a school open on that property for kids?
18, maybe. I think at the earliest, if it went to the route of us having ownership, us building a new facility, us moving forth with a charter school, probably in the 2 to 3 year range.
And who pays for that?
Well, it would be a combination of funding that we would receive as, I forget the acronym, Tracy's going to tell me, but of the pass-through money that comes from taxes, from school taxes that everybody here on the beach pays. We would get 90% of that, or 95%. The district keeps some because they have a responsibility to oversee charter schools. So a combination of that funding, and then just like charter schools around the state, there's grant money, and there's you set up 501c3s to fund it. And I think it would be a combination of grants, of community support, of those who are just committed to education, whether it be business owners, property owners, residents who'd like to see a school. And as we get further down the process, we'll have more discussions about that, because we will need a lot of support, definitely financially and emotionally, to make this happen.
And that'll have to be some kind of annual addition to the town's budget that you fund the school.
Well, yeah, because it would become our vision right now has become what's called the town charter school. So the employees become town employees, and the facility would be a town facility, and so forth. So yes, it would become part of the town budget.
And the millage rate can't support that in any stretch of the imagination right now.
Not specifically, no. There's already taxes, that for schools, and so that's those taxes that people on Fort Myers Beach pay for school, and stuff. The percentage of students going to, that attend that school would come back to Fort Myers Beach. So it would be
enough to cover it.
Our tax money, not enough to cover the full bill. No.
Right.
No.
So lastly on the school, if anybody with kids that's considering moving to the beach hears you say that there won't be a school for 2 to 3 years, are they going to still come?
Well, I hope not. I hope they listen to us, that we're making every effort to make it
Sure.
happen as soon as possible. And we're committed to there being a school on here. And I think it would be a huge benefit, as not just me, but as many residents and business owners came and spoke to the school district and to council many times to say that residents want this for their kids, for their grandkids potentially. And businesses want this for their employees to have a school close to where they work. It's a huge benefit for them to attract employees. And also we know that, as before, when Dr. Kohler was the principal of the school, she had several students that were from off island that came here to go to this school because it was such a unique school with a great program. And we want to bring a similar program back, the WaterWise program, that really takes advantage of the environment we live in, and great opportunity for kids.
Anything that you want the residents or anybody that's watching to do to help with the school, keep an eye on things?
I think keep supporting us in this effort. Send letters, send your input to the board members, all of them, all of the seven board members, I think, that are on the board, and the superintendent of the schools, and let them know that you're behind us in this effort. Let them know that you want it. Just like council members here are elected to represent you on the council, those school board members are elected to represent us and our kids, and they should take Fort Myers Beach into consideration.
You asked me how many members. I try not to watch the school board meetings because we had Superintendent Carlin on the show at Margaritaville, and I played the clip probably 10,000 times where she came right out and said before she was elected, yes, the beach deserves a school. And that's so not her attitude about it right now. And I get it. The storms came through. Life is different. But she did say that. You would think that if she felt that way before the storm, she would be more of an advocate for getting that school open quicker, because she does have the power to do it. But that's just an editorial that you don't need to respond to.
Okay.
So one of the things that was cool before Hurricane Ian was employees at places like Wahoo's or Pete's Time Out, they could find a nook and a cranny to live in, because there were these little apartments, where they would pay a couple $100 a month and they could live on the island while working on the island. Now it's totally impossible. All those places are gone. They were wiped out. It's impossible for most people that work, in that industry to find a place to live. They get that. But the thing that's adds more pain to it is every single employee has to pay to park on the island too. And is there anything that can be done to help the employees find a place to park so they're not, they're not making a ton of money. They're making tip money and things like that, to find a place to park where there is either a better deal. And I'm not trying to take money away from the town. Obviously, this is a busy time for you, and it's good revenue with such a low millage rate. But it's hard for the employees, for the little guy and girl.
It is, and we do have an idea and a plan for that.
Do share.
My staff came up with this. A couple members of staff, great initiative on their part, came up with this. And what we want to do is we're redoing the old town hall lot. We're going to turn it into a parking lot first.
Sweet.
That's the plan.
Is that sand ever going away?
Is that sand? Well, that sand that's there is being used to help, make it. And we've got to put a retaining wall around. That's kind of why things are where they are right now. Once the retaining wall is built, they'll be able to complete the leveling of that and turn it into a parking lot, much like the parking lot next to town hall, next to our current town hall. And that's going to be a town parking lot like anywhere else. But the staff came up with a great idea that we're going to designate, basically not designate, but we're going to allow employees like the employees of Wahoo Willie's, Margaritaville, any of the businesses here on the beach to park in that lot for a significantly reduced rate parking. They'll have to pay like a 3 month. 3 months is appropriate because there's a lot of turnover in those jobs. I understand. I used to work those jobs when I was younger too. So and I understand the difficulty of paying those prices right now. It could be 30, significant every day. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that there's enough parking there. They come into town hall, they can get a significantly reduced, and I can't remember the amount right now, but I'll share it with you so you can share it, Ed.
That's
once we have it finalized. I'm going to bring that to council for approval here very soon. And that they're going to be able, and even I've talked with some of the business owners about this, and I said, I'd encourage the business owners to pay for some of these,
Yeah.
to reimburse their employees for them as a recruiting tool. And they'll be able to park there. I think it's a great location because Lee Tram stops right next to there. It's not a far walk for most of these businesses
Right.
either. They can bring their bike and ride their bike from there right down to work. And then they've got some place on this side of the island to park for a significantly reduced rate. And I just want them to have the opportunity. I
That's
don't want
great.
to have to. And I know that some of the businesses have already come up with their own solutions. They allow their employees to park in some places that they own, but not every business has that luxury.
That's great news. Awesome. And so do you have a rough idea? It's probably too early to know how many spots. That's a huge piece of property if you go all the way back to the water.
Yeah, I can't remember. I can't remember what the total number of spots is going to be.
It's a couple hundred though, right?
Yeah, it's 180 is what sticks in my head, but it might be even a little bit less than that. Well, actually, a little bit more since we chose the retaining wall. It allows us a little bit more space in there. So yeah, we should have about a couple hundred, and we'll be able to designate a significant amount of that space for the town employees, like we talked about.
You think that might be ready by next season?
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
definitely.
Awesome.
Definitely.
All right. So real quick, what's the status of the seaweed on the beach? Everybody's been showing pictures of that stinky seaweed, and I know it's part of the process, but
It is.
staying on the beach is hard when that stinky stuff is there.
Yeah, especially if you live close to it, it can definitely be inconvenience to say the least. So yes, we just went through a cleanup this past week and fully coordinated with all the right environmental agencies. We did not interrupt any of the environmental concerns, whether that be the lagoons or the birds. It was fully coordinated, and the reason that we did it the way we did last week is we wanted to get it done before shorebird season started, which is right now. And so we just did that cleanup, and we're going to continue to do those efforts. It's necessary on a regular basis in a barrier island like ours. We take away as much as we can, or actually we move as much as we can a little bit further out and spread it out because it's good for the birds. It's good for the environment. They can get in there. There's a lot of great stuff for the birds to eat in there. The extra stuff we haul off the island. So we'll continue to do that whenever it's necessary.
Where do you take it?
I don't know exactly where
They
our
burn
staff
it or
hauls it to. They haul it off the island somewhere. Yeah.
They should draw. Oh, never mind. I'm not going to say that. I would have said it if Dan's not here, but I don't want you.
No
I
bonfires
don't want
on
you
the beach,
hitting me. So the other question is, you guys have hired a contractor to fix the pool?
So we decided on an engineer.
Oh,
so
okay.
the first step in the process was we had to vet. We put out an RFQ for some engineering companies to be the engineer design teams for the pool. One was selected most recently. Opulent Outlines, I think, is the name of the company. So they've got some great design work out there. You can go and look at their website and see some of the pools they've done. They were really excited about working with the beach on a community pool. Something that because they're visitors of the beach, the owners of the company. So really excited, and we're excited for them. They've brought in some great ideas, and we're going to have another meeting with them this coming week to start talking about what we want. We want to see a community pool, but something that is more more modern community pool that also takes use of all that space that we have there to make some green space, possibly a dog park area part of it, green space for families to play and hang out, still have a pool for some lap swimming and for some for the kids and adults to enjoy, but really modernize that space.
When do you think it might be open?
I think it'll be open probably within the next, hopefully by next season is the goal. Engineering should take about 2 months for them to come up with something that'll be approved, and then we'll have to go out and get a builder for it. And we're excited about the opportunity for that. And some of the designs are really exciting.
Will there be a restaurant/bar there for adults?
Not right now. Not part of the plan.
Okay. All right. So do you want to talk about, I'm all flood paneled out, if you ask me, but do you want to talk about flood panels and what the controversy is?
Our position hasn't changed.
The answer is no.
What I will add to it is right now, the answer is no for all of Estero Island. And I know there's some people who disagree with that, but it's the disagreement is really what, is there a way to get to yes for some people on flood panels? Because in some communities they have put a process in place, And I will say that that process is not for compliance, it's for mitigation. And there is a difference. So if you're mitigating, that means that it doesn't have to meet the same standards for NFIP, for flood insurance, for those types of things. You're doing it to protect your property, regardless. And I understand that as a homeowner on the island, and I sympathize with people that they want to protect their homes. So we're taking a look at some of the processes like that Naples and some other communities have in place, where people can voluntarily go through a process to demonstrate that they're mitigating and they're doing it in a safe way. Because there are some homes, that if the structure is strong enough, if an engineering study is done where those panels can be attached to the home, and the hydrostatic pressures that build up on those panels, the structure of the home can withstand, then those can possibly be granted a mitigation, permit. I'm hesitant on, because I've been told by FEMA that I can't permit, but a process where they can go through the town and have us, look over those plans for them. And it's really, I've had some conversations this past week with some engineers and with my building officials that's how these other communities have done it. So we're having conversations with Naples and some of the other communities to see if we can do that here. But even so, we're in a different position than some of those other communities because of the FEMA community assistance visit and our recent entry into this community rating system. Is whatever I decide to do, I'm going to have conversations with FEMA and with Lee County and others to make sure that it still is compliant or that we're still meeting those regulations.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad for the people that spent the tens of
I
thousands of dollars to put them in, and I don't know if the companies had any role in making sure they educated more. Maybe they didn't know it all. I mean, I know there's one company that's just blowing up the phone that thinks what you guys are doing is wrong, and I listen, you have to answer to FEMA. No matter what other company, for-profit company says, FEMA's at the top of the line now. I mean, basically because FEMA made an example of Fort Myers Beach. I mean, that's the way I see it. Nobody else got hammered as hard, not Sanibel, not anybody else got hammered as hard. They wanted to make an example of a municipality, and they picked you.
Well, we were definitely under a microscope when they came down for the CAV. And, if there's one thing that, we can't issue compliance permits for flood panels anywhere on the island. And we did not have a process in place for the voluntary use like I just described, like other towns have did. So with FEMA, a lot of it comes down to, is what you're doing compliant? And do you have a process in place to make sure that you're checking everybody's math, you're checking their plans, you're checking their engineering reports, you're doing all that stuff as a town to ensure that it's, it's compliant. And we don't have a permitting process or a voluntary flood panel process like some other communities do. Once we have one that is sufficient, then we could potentially start doing that with some of our residents, because I too feel for people who have invested in this who want to invest in it to protect their home. And I really do want to find a way that we can help them do that.
All right. Well, does anybody in the audience have any questions? Just let us know if you have. I didn't hear what he said.
Lighting. So lighting,
okay.
Lighting, we are, thank you for asking that. So when it comes to lighting along, the bridge or Estero Island and stuff, those not within our control, right? Though, as those are, we're working with county or with FDOT on that. The latest update I got from county and their contractor for the lights is they're energizing the lights section at a time, testing them out for load. They're working their way up the island. You've seen the crews. Most recently, the crews, they're working in the Kubotas, and they're going there and they're testing the loads of the different lights. And then they're gonna, as they test them, they're gonna start energizing them to make sure that they're working as they should. So I'm hoping that by end of season we'll have all the lights on Estero Boulevard fully energized, and they are too. And for us, for Old San Carlos and Times Square, we're getting some new lights installed. They're going to look really nice, ornate, kind of like some did previously. And we've got some that are solar powered right now, and we're going to go forward with some that are energy efficient and really nice. Because I too, from a public safety perspective, definitely want good lighting. and it just makes everything really light up at night too, to make it so nice. It's very important to us, and my staff has weekly meetings with our partners to make sure that they're staying on. They understand that we want it to happen too.
So, any update from Dave Harner or anyone at the county on the pier?
I know you've reported on it, Ed, too, and others, that they're waiting on Corps of Engineers permits. I asked Dave about that last week, and he's confident that they'll get those permits pretty soon. The feedback they're getting is it's processed, that engineers don't see anything in it that's going to hold up the permits. It's going through the process, and they're confident that they'll be able to start construction on that here this summer and have the pier ready for next season.
And the government just shut down again. I wonder if that has
Well,
any impact on things.
Corps of Engineers weren't part of that,
Oh, good,
thankfully.
good.
But it has to go through that process.
Yeah, and for whatever it's worth, Cape Coral's in the same boat. They're waiting for Army Corps of Engineer permits for their pier at the yacht club. So, have you? What is your thought process on major commercial development on the island? The town has approved. We can go through the list. We did it last week. I did it this week on Facebook. You got the Neptune, the Myerside, several projects, a Pink Shell, Moss Marina. They've all been approved, but nobody has put a shovel in the ground. Is that because they're all in the design and permit process, or they're all being held up by financing?
Well, some may be being held up by financing or other decisions of these different developers. As far as the town goes, we're not holding anything up. We're not slowing anything down. If they do have some designs and plans, and they are having conversations with the town, it's really what we call pre-application meetings, where they bring in their initial plans and want to get feedback from our planners and the engineers that we work with to see, is this going to work? Because they've been approved for certain things by by town council. So they're working within those approvals. But we've had nothing more than really pre-app meetings with some of these developers. And after pre-app, that's when they come in and whether it's a DO or a comp plan amendment or something like that they're working, well, comp plan amendment, not that, but whether it's a DO, an LDO or whatever, that's when we really get into the meat and potatoes. That's when our planners really start going it with a fine-tooth comb and give the letters of sufficiency or insufficiency back to them for them to come. But we haven't started that with any of the major developments.
Do you have any vision of who might be first? Any project that you think is going to be started?
I don't. I know. I really don't know which one's going to be first. We're ready for any of them right now. We're excited.
Do you think it might be wise for the council to incorporate some kind of deadline when they first approve a project, saying, you have to have some kind of shovel in the ground within a year or something, and we'll make sure it happens on the permitting side of things, but we want you guys to open?
I don't know if a deadline would really be a good idea or would be enforceable in any kind of way, Ed, to be honest. I mean, I think they can definitely make their intention known when they approve this. And even, they can do it, at any time. The council can let them know. And even, I meet, or my community development team meets with their planners and their developers and calls them regularly, says, is there anything we can do to help you, get things started?
Are you worried at all that you're not seeing any?
No, I'm not worried. I think that there has been some recent things. We know that some, like the Neptune and stuff, it's a little bit of a step back. But I understand from what I've heard that they probably need to kind of step back and take a look and get some more, figure out how they're going to build it and how they're going to fund. But I'm not worried. I think many of them are excited to make it happen. They're just trying to find whether it's financing or whatever it is.
How close are you to a resolution at the beach bar?
At the beach bar, we're pretty close. What my understanding, and we're checking in with Greg and the team regularly, is that they've got the trailers that'll be compliant down there being designed and built. I don't know what stage of that they're in, but they're being designed and built so they can be at flood level there within that building. I just really appreciate them moving forward with that type of a solution that meets the requirements.
Do you think that's why the salty crab has not moved forward, because they're waiting to see? And
I believe. I'm sure it's part of the process. They're seeing what is going to be approved by the town for that level of their building, because they're in a similar situation. I know that several of these whether it be the owner or the planners, are also having conversations with engineering companies about wave mitigation walls. And they want to see, how a wave mitigation wall, if they invest in that, might change what they're allowed to do at that level. Because if it's approved and does change the LIMWA, it would change what they're allowed to do. So I understand that some of them are also working on that type of a solution.
Gotcha. One of the things the mayor said a couple of weeks ago was that he felt like the permitting process was taking a step back.
I disagree. I think that the permitting team is doing an excellent job. And what sometimes, although I do know that the counselors and myself, we get contacted by whether it's just a property owner trying to rebuild their house or a developer trying to build a larger project, that they submit for a permit, and they submit plans, and then they get insufficiency letters back. They have to answer those insufficiency letters. Sometimes there's communications issues there where it's going to a contractor and the contractor is not updating the owner on the process, or there's a lot of different questions, and we get those questions answered not as one package. Really, it's helpful for our team if all of the answers come back in one package versus one at a time. That extends the process. So I think the permitting team is doing a great job, and I'm giving them all the support I can. They have great leadership there. And what I would ask is, anytime anybody has, they think that something is taking a little too long, or they're frustrated with the answers they get with the permanent team, reach out to me, reach out to Frankie, my community development director, and right away we go and look at it to make sure that the issue is not on our end. And if it is something that I described, like, oh, no, we sent the insufficiency letter to your contractor last week, you might want to check with them and see what they're doing on it. And I don't mean to call out any of the contractors or anything like that, but sometimes those conversations are necessary really to get to the truth of what the issue might be with that permit.
Yeah, there was a time back when people were, after Hurricane Ian, where people were using contractors, and contractors had so much work, they weren't checking the portal, and the resident who had no idea what was going on, because this had never happened before, just blamed it on the town because they were being told they are waiting on a permit, but the contractors were not watching what's going on in the portal.
And I will say that I understand the frustration with the system like iWorks that we currently use.
Yeah.
It's not user-friendly. And it takes really a PhD in it to understand how to get through all the unique details.
Yeah.
And myself and Dan, as much as we can, will help talk people through the different nuances. But we're going forward with some new advanced digital tools, as I talked about before, where we're going to try to make that more user-friendly, where it's two questions, whether over the phone or two questions through an online portal, and they get the answer that they need.
Well, that is government's job, to make things as confusing as possible. And
well, I'm trying to break that paradigm.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you about was we've been kind of listening to the LPA talk about more transparency with developers. And to me, I just think it's a no-brainer either not to meet with developers privately or to record them in your beautiful new town hall now on a separate YouTube channel on your YouTube page. Would that make your life easier in any way, or do you have any thoughts on what there's some mistrust, of the whole recall thing, and you can call it whatever it is, but there's some mistrust over the Seagate project, and more transparency is always better when it comes to those things. Any thoughts on what could be done or should be done that you would like?
I agree with transparency as much as possible, and I will say that the recall and other things like that are disruptive to the staff as well. They make it, sometimes efforts like that take staff time and energy, and it makes it difficult for us to get things through. Now that we're past all that, I want to move forward, continue to move forward. I'm a transparent, type of leader. Whatever the council decides, we will support, or whatever the community decides. If it comes to that, the town will support. I currently don't have the infrastructure in place to do that, to the level of, I think, would be necessary for people to have that full transparency, but I'm willing to look at the solutions. I think that, it's really up to the council and the LPA to decide, how they want to move forward with that. They're the ones that have those meetings. I think it's important for them to have meetings personally with the developers, not to give the developers an opportunity to have behind closed door discussions, and and that does for some people raise questions and concerns. I think that you elect these people to represent you, and you should have the trust in them to continue to represent you. And then they get they get information. It's information gathering. when I have conversations with the developers, I'm in receive mode. I want to hear from them, and I'm not a council member, so I know it's different, but I want to hear what their ideas are, what their plans are. They might ask, what do I need to do? What do we need to make sure is in this to make it work, to make it work for your permitting and your planning staff? Those are the kinds of questions that I get from them, and that's what I want from them, because once we get that package in, we want it to get through as easy as possible. But I'll tell you, I think that the meetings are important. I think it gives them the information that they need to make sound, fully informed decisions when they get to the time that they need to make those decisions.
Is the town in good financial shape, and do you want to see a millage rate increase next time around?
So we're stable, but I'm cautiously optimistic of the next year with the council. With the budget, I'm still working with Joe on a regular basis as Joe's trying to reconcile all of our books, make sure that our reserves are where they need to be. Because as we move further past the storm and as we really rebuild and get stronger, that's a good thing. But our disaster relief funding starts to dry up, and we stop receiving that funding, and we may not be eligible for as many grants as we've been eligible for. So we need that strong, tax base as well to go forward with that. So if I feel it's necessary, I'm not afraid to ask the council again to consider another millage rate increase if I feel it's necessary to build up our reserves or for other significant projects that we want to do for Fort Myers Beach that won't be funded by disaster relief funds going forward. I think we need to have those discussions during the budget review process, and also open to the public. I want to have those conversations with people because, I'm a property owner here too. I don't like to pay more taxes every year any more than anybody else does. But if I have to, I want to know exactly what those funds are going to be used for. And then it's going to be something that the town really needs and will benefit as many people as possible.
If you were to decide today, if you had to decide today, if there was going to be a millage rate increase, would you recommend yes or no?
If I had to decide today, I would recommend yes.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
30th anniversary coming up. Any
Thank you.
Details on that you want to share?
Yeah, thanks for asking. March 6th, we're going to have a celebration of the 30th anniversary. It was, as I think I mentioned before, Dan texted me on New Year's Eve, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, can you guys help me with a letter to put out to everybody, celebrating our 30th anniversary?" Because it actually was back closer to the new year. And we did that. And then I said, you know what, we should have something here in the town really to mark this significant milestone. So we are going to have something that brings us starts off at Bayside Veterans Park here with some VIPs from around the state and the county to come and speak on the significance and their history here with the town and what to go. And then we're going to set up along the side of old San Carlos right here some photos and pictures of historic Fort Myers Beach, of all the growth over the years, and then we're going to ask everybody to continue to walk up to Times Square, where we'll have some final comments and talk about some future visioning for the beach, and give out some cupcakes, like is the tradition.
Yeah, that's really why Dan texted you, because he wanted to know where his cupcakes were on New Year's Eve.
I would like to say too, everybody get ready, because we've been working with Bill from Tuna Skin. We're going to have a special edition 30th anniversary shirt partnered with Tuna Skin. They'll be available for sale that day. And we just love to, everybody to have the opportunity to have those as a memento. And also, I'd like to say thanks to Bill and all the volunteers that came out today
Saw them everywhere.
to do beach cleanup. And they weren't only on the beach, they were also cleaning up along Estero. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that.
So have you ever played pickleball? Are you a pickleballer?
I played pickleball, as you know, Ed. I played once in one tournament for the Beach Kids Foundation.
Uh-huh.
Jason and I did pretty well.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to, maybe a fundraising match with you and Kim.
Yeah. So last time we did this, I think it was 2 years ago. It was Dan and Jim. I hope you're going to dress like they did, because that was way crazy. It was totally distracting, and that's really how they won. And Kim and I will be
Is
playing.
it really how they won?
Of course, I got the sciatica, and these
Not
people,
what I heard. Oh, here we go.
These people over there are laughing at me because I'm sitting on a heating pad. I've been sitting on a heating pad the whole hour, and I had to turn it back on. But I think that's going to be in March, right?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Is it the Community Foundation that
Yes.
that does the event, and then they'll have a regular tournament after that,
Yep.
which will be a lot of fun. So, but I need to practice. I need to get out there and practice that. They have this huge thing going on at Cape Coral this weekend, like a professional
That's right.
a pickleball tournament. And I know they have like a big World Series down in Naples. So it's really a big deal down here. And how many courts do you guys have now?
So there are, how many total? We've
got inside and outside.
Yeah,
right?
we've got inside and outside. Well, probably close to 15, 20 total courts. So if you put them all up, inside and outside, because we also on the tennis courts, they can be converted into pickleball courts as well. And we're adding 8 more along the road to Bay Oaks Park. You'll see if you go down there, we're adding 8 more courts along there. And then there might be even more coming down the road. Great partnership with Friends of Bay Oaks. So there may be even more courts coming because, every day, especially now during this time of year, all those courts are full starting early in the morning, going. And I love to see that.
Do you have any idea or any update on what might go in the middle of the track at Bay Oaks? Is there a plan for putting something there yet?
First, we're going to have it as a multi-use field. We are I'm talking with Jeff and his team on potentially other ideas, make it an event venue of some kind in the future. So those are in the initial kind of discussion phase. But they're going to be doing some sodding and stuff on that field. We tried to plant and do some seeding, and it didn't take. The birds ate all the seed, and just didn't quite work. So we're going to do some sodding there instead. But we got the nice trail around it now, and the trees up there. So we're going to do sodding, make it a nice multi-use field, and then we'll go forward with other things after that.
Did we miss any updates that you wanted to tell people about?
I don't think so. Things are going. We covered a lot. Thanks for the opportunity. It's great. I want to take an opportunity to thank my staff. They're just doing a tremendous job, and we brought on some new staff, and we're really rounding out the team. I think really, and that's it. They're coming together as a great team, and they're here for you. They're here for the residents. They're here for the businesses, and they really love what they do every day.
What has your biggest challenge been so far?
I think the biggest challenge has been, kind of coming on board, building the team. Gaining their trust and gaining the community's trust, but also all of that while working through the FEMA CAV and the other challenges that came to, associated with that. That really, but it helped. It helped kind of, accelerate things for me. It was definitely a difficult thing with the CAV, but we had a successful outcome. I'm super proud of, and then dealing with the other things that went, associated with the recall and the other elections, those like I mentioned before, were they took more effort from the staff and focus away from some of the things that I would have preferred to focus on. But it's absolutely everybody's right to do those things, the democratic process, and we had to make those one of our priorities, and the town clerk's office did that. And we got through that, though. Now we're here, and the momentum is picking up. I really feel like I see tremendous energy down here on the island. Things are picking up on the south end. I know people on the south end. That's one of our next big challenges. More restaurants, more commercial venues on the south end of the island. And I hear you. I'm with you. And we also want that.
Yeah. Is a town manager's job everything you thought it was going to be? It's the first time you were an actual municipality manager, correct?
Yeah, outside of my similar military experience, first time on missile thing. And yeah, it's everything I thought it would be and more.
When you were your youngest, how old were you when you're in the best shape of your life?
Best shape of my life.
I'm not saying you're not in great shape now.
25, I think, is when I was at the best shape of my life. I was a collegiate athlete. I was, also in Army ROTC at that time. I'd come off in my enlisted time in the Army, transitioning to being an officer. And as you know, that's, you're trying to build up everything. So when you re-enter the Army as an officer, you are leading from the front, leading your troops. You're, you're the most fit of all of them. So I think those things were motivating me. That was the best. When you
were getting in shape for these years, what was the length of how many miles you were required to run a day or a week?
Well, it varied so much. When I was getting ready for those things for a week, we'd probably, average 50 to 60 miles or so like that running in a week. And along with other workouts,
so like
associated with that,
5-ish miles a day.
Yeah. Oh, at least. Yeah.
And so what was your average mile? Like you're not running for speed when you're running 5 miles. You're not running 6-minute miles, but you can't run.
You make me feel old. So it's the fastest that I ever was. I did a 2 mile in 11 minutes and 28 seconds. So
that's 6
so
plus.
it was it was under 6 minutes. That was the fastest I ever was.
What do you think you can average a mile right now?
20.
No, seriously. You think you can run it? You can run a 9-8 minute mile.
No,
right?
I could do probably a 7.5
Oh, wow.
probably right now.
Look at you.
But I do more cycling now just because of the back surgery I had a few years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think you should try and run a 7.5 minute mile through that seaweed on the beach, because there's no way you're getting through that.
The beach,
when
beach
I
in
ran on
general
the
is a
south,
challenge.
when I ran on the south end, and there was only that seaweed left to see. It's hard to run through, but it's challenging. At your best, Army's about the pull-ups, not the push-ups. How many pull-ups could you do without stopping?
25 to 25 to 30. But
chin over the bar, total stretch at the bottom.
Yep, no kipping like the Marines do or
Right.
anything like that. No. Yep.
How many can you do today?
Oh, maybe without stopping. 10 if on a good day.
Look
On a
at
good
you.
day, but
Very nice.
I don't do it as much as I used to. And
your
it's
wife
something
said she
you
could
have
do
to.
12 right now.
Well, yeah, she's probably. Yeah.
Anything else you want to?
No, thanks, Ed.
So
I appreciate the
a big
opportunity.
hand for the town manager, Will. Thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate your time very much, and thank you for coming on. And next week, Sunday, the mayor will be back, so stay tuned for that. We'll have golf cart stories next week. Have you guys been watching The Skeleton at all? Like when I went home yesterday, the skeleton, I don't know how that's a sport, but you get on this sled and you go down like a sheet of ice at 75 miles an hour. And it's the craziest thing I've ever seen. Of course, I'm watching it to see if anyone's going to crash, because how do you stop yourself when you're going down a sheet of ice at 75? When she said 75 miles an hour, it's like, holy moly. The highest I've ever gotten my bike up to was 31 miles an hour, and that was coming over the bridge. And I was scared shitless when that happened. Sorry about my French, but can you imagine 75 miles an hour? And those things don't have brakes. You stop in the snow. That's the only way. And then I was watching women ski backwards, doing flips backwards. I'm like, these people are crazy. All right, everybody, our sponsors today, Bob, you got to call Bob, because he's got the 8th floor at Diamond Head for rent. Who doesn't want to stay at the Diamond Head? Each week is now $1,900. That's a 75% savings. The condo has a premium Gulf view on the 8th floor, one bedroom that sleeps 4. They have double sliders to the Gulf Lanai, the pool, the restaurant, free parking, and the weeks are coming fast. February 21st through March the 14th. February 21st through March the 14th. Please call Bob now, because he's freezing his ass off in Detroit. 248-877-3939. 248-877-3939. So thank you to Bob. Also, Michael Stewart, if you want to build a house or a commercial structure that doesn't fall in the dirt, you want to give Michael Stewart a call. He's a structural engineer. He can do any structure, any design, residential, commercial, electrical, plumbing, mechanical. He does it all. He knows all about FEMA. He knows the codes. He knows how to put a permit in. He knows how to keep an eye on the permits when they're in there. And you're going to get a rock-solid structure if you call Michael Stewart at 239-292-7670, 239-292-7670. Give Michael Stewart a call today. Thank you very much to Michael Stewart. I think that's it for today. Thank you all for coming. Good luck to the United States. 3 o'clock today against Germany on the ice hockey. And we will have Kim back next week as well. Thank you all for coming. Have a great Sunday, everybody. Bye-bye.